Hey everybody, today I'm sharing a quick art journal page in my smaller Canson drawing sketchbook. And today I wanted to experiment a little bit with stencils and some other materials such as this art graph Tailor shape crayon, and I'm also going to use the Derwent XL Blocks. I just wanted to see what I can get, which results I can get and what I can achieve with these materials together with a stencil. I think you don't have to have these products. You could easily use just the typical stencil smushing technique using distress ink, for example, or you just could maybe color the stencil with some watercolors and create something similar. I think I will not use this technique again because it's more complicated compared to using an ink pad. And it's not perfect, but I think I got a really lovely background and I had a lot of fun experimenting with it. The stencil I'm using here is our Stars #1 stencil. I will link up all the products I'm using in the video description. Our shop is still on holidays, but we are starting soon packing your orders. It's the 1st of January today, and I'm recording this video a bit earlier because it's my son's birthday, so I don't have time to work on that day. And also it's a holiday here in Germany, and I think probably everywhere else in the world. I'm moving the color around a little bit with a wet brush. The art graph, Tailor shape crayons are watercolors, but you can also draw with them, and I will link them up in the video description. I often use the white one to create splatters on a page. I'm now going in with that yellowish color. I can't tell you which exact color it is, but they don't have many different colors, so I think it's probably a yellow ochre or green ochre, I don't know. As I said, they do not have many different colors of these. I let this layer dry, and here I come back with another stencil, and this time I wanted to experiment if the Derwent XL blocks will work on that stencil, and I'm using, I think, a charcoal one. I love the charcoal blocks because they are very they have a very nice texture when you use them wet, and especially in my sketchbook I really like to have this granulating texture on a background, or just to create maybe some landscape effects. I would not recommend recreating this, what I'm doing here, because it ends up to be quite messy. And when this is dry, you also need a fixative to make sure that the pigment does not come off the page, because it gets really dusty as it's just charcoal. So if you want to recreate that kind of page, I would really recommend using ink pads, for example. You can create something quite similar. Of course, you don't get that granulating effect with ink pads, but you also don't get that messiness and that dusk you get here. And I would also recommend, in addition to spraying it with a fixative once the background is done, maybe lay something in between the pages. These charcoals are very thirsty, so you need a lot water because they soak the water up immediately. You can see it here when I go over the stencil. I wanted to get more pigment onto the stencil, but it was not possible because it just soaked up the water on the stencil. So I spritzed it with water again and then went through the stencil. You can also see that there is a lot going through the stencil, so you get a lot of excess of the color, which you probably could use on another project. Yeah, as I said, it's not the best way of using a stencil with a watercolor crayon. But I wanted to try it out and experiment, and I think that's that's necessary if you want to explore new techniques. And it's also very much, a lot of fun, I would say. I'm also moving around that charcoal a little bit with my wet brush, so I can see a bit of that granulating effect, and I also pick something up from my working surface. I'm also making some splatters with the charcoal here, and I'm using a little fern brush because I think that gives you really lovely tiny splatters. In case you can hear the noise going on in the background, I hope you don't mind, but it comes from outside. My husband is cutting wood. Yeah, and it's a bit loud, and my microphone is picking up everything that's going on around me. I let that background dry again, and here I'm back with a little bit of stamping to bring in more interest, and I use one of my favorite stamps. It's that number stamp from the Mix It Up number 6 stamp set. I think it's quite versatile, and I really like it as a style element. The numbers against anything else. I think it's just something you cannot draw or paint in, and that just gives you some kind of a collage effect maybe. I really like that. By the way, I would recommend if you're using a fixative, spray it before you start stamping, because when you stamp with the wrong ink, everything might bleed when you put on a fixative. So spray it before you do the stamping. If you are enjoying that video, please give it a thumbs up and leave me a lovely comment. I always love to read your comments, and it also helps my videos to get a bit more views on YouTube, I think. So that would be really lovely. For a focal image on this page, I wanted to create a little vase together with a flower, and here I cut already a vase just freehand from, I think it's a gel print, and I'm going to stamp it to bring in a little bit of texture. I'm inking up the edge of the vase with black ink so it pops a little bit more from the background. For the flower, I already had one ready to go. It is stamped with black and then embossed with clear powder, and it's from our Doodle Flowers stamp set. They were sold out in December, but they are already back in stock, so we have them ready to be shipped once we are back from our holidays. I decided to color in that stamped image with the Art Graf Tailor shape crayon that I've used on the background. So I have the same color on the flower that I have already on the page, and that makes everything look more cohesive. Once I have colored in the flower, I can arrange that to my page. I just think about if I should adhere it to the right side or to the left. I usually see what fits best, and sometimes I also decide to cover up the side where I don't like the background as much. So here I decided to go for the left page, I think because the flower pops up a little bit more, and I also really like that star background at the top right, and I didn't want to cover up that too much, and so I picked the left page. For the right side, I decided to go with a sentiment that I put together with words from our Mixer sentiment stamp set. These were stamped to a jelly print, and then I cut out the words that I wanted to use, and here I'm adhering them with my glue stick. No, that's not right. I do not adhere them with the glue stick, because what I recognized was that because of the dusty background from the charcoal, the glue stick will not adhere to the page. It will just come off again. And so I decided to go with the liquid glue. I wanted to add kind of a bottom to the page where my vase can sit on. I have to say that when I look at it now, I really liked how the page was. And I think I don't need that bottom layer here, but at the time when I was creating it, I thought I need that. So yeah, I'm not sure. I think it was fine just as it was. And maybe I should have not added that bottom part. And I'm using the same charcoal that I've used for the stencil texture. So I'm still cohesive in color. But I think maybe it was a little bit too much of the dark color now. Well, I'm not sure. Well, it's what it is, and I always learn something when I create. So maybe next time I will think about it twice if I should add something. Although I'm already happy with how the page is looking. Maybe it got a little bit more dimension, but I think it was just fine as it was before. Yes, and that's my page for today. I hope you enjoyed that little video, and I hope we will see us next time. And I hope you will have a wonderful and healthy new year. Bye.